Hello YouTube, Dave here again. I guess welcome to another pickups video. I wasn't necessarily planning on doing another one so soon, but it's just kind of the way things work out when you order stuff at like very different times and they all decide to show up all at once kind of idea. So we're going to go through and take a look at some of the things that I've added to my various collections. So we got a bunch of RPG stuff. We have some other things that are going to be, I think, kind of interesting, or at least, to me, things that I like to collect and I like to display, or like that I like to interact with. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so up first, we got some things that I've ordered from Noble Knight Games. Like I said, I had a pretty miserable experience trying to trade in stuff to them. Like, I feel like they completely and totally, absolutely lowballed the hell out of me on, what they offered, considering it was only about 10% of what they would have been able to sell it for based on their own prices for similar items. And considering some of the things that they've sent that they've considered to be like mint or like new type of thing, I definitely think they would have been able to charge top dollar for the stuff that I was going to send them, because it was all sealed, nicely sealed, and if anything was a book, it hadn't even been opened because it was a duplicate. But anyway, I digress. The first thing that we have here is a mini. It is still in the Ziploc bag that they shipped it in. But this is the aspect of Loviatar. And the reason that I wanted to get this is I wanted to collect all of the aspects from the original D&D Minis game. And I think this was the only one that I was now missing, because I recently picked up the aspect of Nerul, and I had like the aspect of Demogorgon, the aspect of Orcus, I had the aspect of Moradin, the aspect of Cord, the aspect of Bane, the aspect of Hextor, and I think that was pretty well all of them. One of the later releases of like the 4th edition era had an aspect of Vecna, but if you look up the picture of the mini that they use for the aspect of Vecna, it's absolutely terrible. So there might be a couple of others that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head. Oh, the aspect of Tiamat and aspect of Bahamut. But I'm pretty sure I now have the entire subset of aspect minis from the original D&D minis line, not the 2nd edition version of it that came out during the 4E era. But still really cool to have that. And along the lines with minis here, I also, they were offering some stuff for their free RPG day. So for every $20 that you spent US on their site, you were entitled to one free RPG day item. And there were 3 things that I wanted, and there was a couple of things that I had my eyes on anyway, in terms of like that I was really contemplating picking up. So for me, it wasn't really going out of my way to buy them, and those 2 items added up to $60 US, which allowed me to get the 3 items. So the first of the 3 free RPG Day things was this Nothic mini. Now, the one thing I don't like about it is that it is intentionally like leaning off to the side, and I was trying to figure out if that was like a mistake or if it was just kind of smushed. But the second I tried to like adjust it, you can see like the foot came off. I don't know how well it's going to show up here, but the foot came right off the base here. So I don't know what the hell WizKids is using for these newer miniatures, but their durability sucks. Like they come off the base so easily, like ridiculously easily. I had a Skittermander that I just dropped from my kitchen table, and I've dropped minis, like the old 3rd edition minis, all the time. I've had to bend them back into positions all the time, and they were super flexible, super durable. These things just break, and it's so frustrating. And even like the plastic glue that I have, which I intend to use for something else we're going to show here a little bit later, but it's supposed to like bond plastic really, really well, really, really solidly, and it still struggles to like glue these creatures back to their bases. So whatever they're making the new minis out of, stop and go back to the older stuff where you had a little bit of play and a little bit of flexibility, because dropping something from just dropping a small mini You know, I would have understood if it was like something the size of my like Great Worm Black Dragon or something like that. But to drop something the size of a Skittermander, like the size of a halfling-sized mini, you know, just a couple feet, and having it completely break off the base immediately is no good. So anyway, I'm gonna have to glue this foot back to the base there. But I do kind of hate the fact that it's leaning, because he is like leaning like off of the base, and I'm worried about it like tipping over and stuff. But I still never owned a Nothic Mini, so I'm really happy to finally have one of those. All right, and then as for the items that I purchased to get the free RPG Day stuff, the other two items we're going to show off here in a little bit when I get to them. But the things that I ended up getting is definitely like a nostalgic trip for me. And I do have these already, but I just, like, the prices on them were really good, and I just couldn't pass it up. You know, I looked at it, I had it in my cart, I'd taken them out of my cart, and had them in my cart, and the free RPG Day thing was the final incentive for me just to say, you know what, screw it, and bite the bullet. So what these are chainmail boxes from back in the early 2000s. So the chainmail was the first 3rd edition era D&D miniatures game. And what was great about this game is it was metal figures divided into clear factions. Each faction had a distinct theme to them, and the world had a really rich backstory, and the armies had kind of their own backstory, and it was a really, really awesome setting that would be kind of cool if they were to release it for like 5e or something like that. I can't remember if it was called no, I think the Scarred Lands might be something else. But anyway, but you had my favorite faction to play was the Elves, which is this faction here, Revilla. So this was one of the combination of the combo boxes. So this is from set 1, and so this has the Elf Ranger, the Elf Scout, and the Centaur Trooper. And yeah, these are just units you could have in your game. So the Wood Elf Ranger is a commander because it has like a character class name, and I think pretty much everything with the character class name had command points. But the Revilla faction was interesting because like the Centaur is considered a difficult troop, meaning that like in order to issue a command to it, you had to spend double the amount of points, or you could just kind of let it do its thing based off of like the way that the rules worked for creatures that weren't under command. It also had the highest number of independent troops, so independent troops were able to act on their own. They also didn't count towards your limit of figures that you could have based off your command points, and Revilla was a faction that struggled for command points. But yeah, this was, again, just my favorite unit to have. So this was one of the combo boxes. But then the big one is a sealed copy of the faction box. So this was only done for the first set, but for set 1, the entire wave of set 1 minis was included in the faction box, and each faction had one. Now the seal does have a little bit of a tear on it there. I'm not going to mess with it too much. This is going to go on a shelf and never be touched probably after that. But this had the whole set, so you had the Grey Elf Wizard, which is an awesome looking mini. Again, the Wood Elf Ranger, the Centaur Trooper, the Wood Elf Scout, the Crested Feldrake, and the Grey Elf Duelist. There was a second combo box, like this, similar to this one, that had the other 3 models. So it had the Wizard, it had the Duelist, and it had the Crested Feldrake. But yeah, this is just really, really cool. This was $40 US. It was around $60 Canadian. Which sounds like a lot, but the original box set was $45 on its own, so it's only gone up $15 in 20 some odd years, and for a sealed copy, I consider that a win. Now, again, they do list this as mint or new, and I think because it is sealed, but the seal is kind of torn, and there is a little bit of warping here on the box. So like this, if this is considered brand new, then some of the things I was trying to sell would have, definitely fit that category as well. But it's still really, really awesome. Really, really awesome to have this, like a sealed copy of this in my collection. So it was something, like I said, I was kind of considering, I was humming and hawing over, and I finally just decided to pull the trigger to help me get a few free RPG Day things. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that so much. All right. Up next, During the summer, the early part of the summer there, back in basically through late June into, or mid-June, I think, into mid-July, um, Free League was having their summer sale. And their summer sale was like 50 to 80% off certain things. And I had just wrapped up HalCon weekend. And I, was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for next year. And because, again, I like to give stuff away when I run stuff at these, at these conventions, or my local convention, because that's the only one I ever want to run stuff at. And, like, the stuff I'm not going to pretend the stuff doesn't cost money, right? So, like, with the Alien RPG that I ran this year, I got a lot of stuff during the Kickstarter, which was discounted, because I had, added a ton of stuff to my original Kickstarter pledge. But with these sales, there were a couple of things that were in that, I'd say, 80% off range, because there were two starter sets in particular that I was looking at, and they were both marked down from $40-something down to $17 US, but still not a bad price. And so I got 4 copies of each of the following. So the other 3 copies are just sitting in a box. I'm not going to show all 4 because they're the same thing. But one of the ones here, and I was debating between this and the Free League sort of standalone rules version, but I kind of like to have one that's relatively easy to teach, that like it's based off a system that most people know. So I decided to go with the Lord of the Rings starter set, the Overhill and Underhill for the 5e version. And I have 4 of these, so next year I'll be running Lord of the Rings role-playing. And that'll probably be my Saturday game, because again, like the last year and this year, last year I ran D&D 5th edition on the Saturday, which is kind of like the more well-known system. And then this year I ran Starfinder, which is less well-known, but it's still kind of like a D20 style role-playing game. So it's still one of the more familiar rule sets. And then Sunday was, like I ran Alien, and I have my other thing here for the Sunday game. But that's basically going to be my plan, is to run Lord of the Rings role-playing here. So we got the starter set once again. 4 copies of those. And I have 4 copies of the Vossen, or Vaesen, I think it's Vossen. The Nordic horror role-playing game. And my plan is, again, just to run these starter sets at the convention like I did with the Alien game. And then, when the game's over, it's like, here's your copies. You guys can, take these. And although I'll probably give them the Vossen one early, just because it has, like, the dice and stuff in there. And it's just easier if they have their own sets of dice. But yeah, so I'm going to give these away next year at King Con. These will be the games that I run. And like I said, I'll probably aim for this one on Saturday, and then this one on Sunday. But yeah, I ended up getting 4 copies of each of these. And we'll just move them off to the side here. I'm just going to put them back in the box. So I'm just going to pause the recording. They're going to look like they disappeared. It's not fancy editing. It's literally me just hitting a pause and then unpause on the recording. But I'll be right back. All right, so along with that, actually, I almost forgot, because I didn't actually own this before. I also added the Vossen Game Master screen, and this was also on sale. It was not 80% off or 70% off or however much the other ones were, but it was still a pretty good sale price for this. I think I still paid I think the minimum discount was 50%, so like I still saved quite a bit of money on this, and it's good to have the screen now. And when I go to run this next year, I have the screen. I already have the screen for the 5e Lord of the Rings stuff, so I don't need to worry about that one. But I didn't have this screen, so it'd be nice to finally have that to add to the collection as well. All right, we're gonna break from the role-playing stuff for just a moment. Actually, no, I lied. We'll do one more Free League thing before I get to sort of the next thing, but we're going to transition into some sci-fi stuff, and that will lead right into the next thing here. But yeah, as part of that summer sale, again, I was kind of thinking about some things, and one of the systems that I do want to run at some point for like campaign play for my at-home group of players is going to be the Alien role-playing game. And basically my plan is to merge the universes of Firefly and Alien together. If you watched Firefly in the pilot episode, which was not the first one aired, I think, for whatever reason, but if you got like the DVD or if you're streaming it, The pilot episode shows the flashback of Malcolm Reynolds fighting, for the independence against the Alliance, and he jumps on an anti-air gun at one point, and that anti-air gun has the Weyland-Yutani logo on it. And you never see it again throughout the series, but it was just really cool to see that, like, little Easter egg. But at the same time, it's like, well, what if these worlds were, together? Like, what if they were sort of the same thing? So I want to do some campaign play where they're gonna kind of like be like smugglers, or kind of like that Firefly crew. But it's going to be in the Alien universe, so you never know. You might eventually find something very, very unusual. So when I go to run these systems, I want everybody to have a copy of their own book, and I could just do it so that I keep the copies here, but I don't really see the point in that. These were all like half off. So basically, I bought 4 copies of the Alien core rulebook for the price of 2, which was great. So I'll be giving copies of those to the players, because again, it's not the most conventional system. It's not the easiest system to find out there, and I know that times are tough and things are expensive, and so I don't mind giving these to the players in my group, because I know that they'll appreciate them, and I know that they'll use them, and because I plan on running these games. So it's sort of like the trade-off for me getting to run some of these systems, right? Is I guess it's a type of bribery, I guess you could say. But anyway, I bought 4 of these, so I'll be giving those to the players there. I'm hoping that none of them are watching this video right now, because that might spoil a surprise for tomorrow when I've got these for them. And along those lines, I decided to pick up 3 copies of the Alien starter set once again. After the debacle that I kind of had this year with trying to get, I don't know what it is, whenever I order stuff with the Alien for the Alien role-playing game, there always seems to be an issue getting it shipped to me. I don't know why. Like initially, it was because there were fields in the address that were left blank, but were filled in with the word null through the system that I was using, and that kind of threw things off. So I kind of got that one, but this one didn't have that issue, and I still had to like contact customer services. Like it's been like 2 weeks since I ordered this. Is there a reason why it hasn't shipped yet? But anyway, they got them shipped and they arrived really, really quickly. So again, Free League's customer service is fantastic. I just don't know why the Alien role-playing game keeps giving me these issues. I pre-ordered a bunch of stuff for like the new release that are coming out as well, so we'll see how that goes when the time comes. But basically, last year's I ordered 2 starter sets because I had 2 extra copies, and I wanted to have one for everybody in my 4-player, King Kong group. So I ordered 2. And there was an issue with them getting shipped out because of that null field for like PO box and rural route and stuff like that, which I don't have. So Free League, they were offering this. They did offer to send out like a replacement order, which they did, but I wasn't sure that it was going to arrive in time. So I ended up ordering 2 copies of the Alien starter set from the store Harry Tarantula in Toronto, and I paid for the extra shipping, so the second level of shipping to get it in 2 to 3 business days, and it arrived at the beginning of the week before King Con, and then the other copies from Free League arrived like a couple of days later, so they got it there really quick, and I do appreciate that. But when I was done, I still had a couple of extra copies left, and I do actually have a player that missed the Sunday game, but he did sign up for it, and I want him to have a copy of the starter set. I gave a copy of the starter set to the person that filled in his spot, but I did have an extra one. But it's like, I kind of want to have another set of 4, because maybe I'll do Alien again, right? Like maybe I'll run a 3rd game, because I'm insane. We'll see what kind of happens. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to have another set of 4 starter sets if I decide to go Alien. Like maybe I'll do Alien and Vossen as opposed to the One Ring. We'll see what happens, kind of thing. But basically, yeah, so I ended up getting a few more of those, and right now I'm looking at a stack of 4 plus the extra one to give away, so I'll have one more spare one. Who knows, maybe I'll put it up for sale or something. But anyway, there we go. That is the Alien role-playing game as part of that Free League summer sale. All right, now up next, we're going to take a little bit of a break from RPGs before we get right back into them. But this is something that I'm really stoked about, and this is, pure childhood nostalgia, and I'm not going to pretend it's anything other than that. But a few weeks ago, Giant Robot Comics in Dartmouth, I follow them on Facebook, somebody had brought in, I think the owner said, 83 Star Trek figures all on card from the 90s. And I saw some that I like, okay, I want this, could you set this, and this aside for me? Because other people were asking for things set aside too, and I didn't want to be too greedy, right? So there were 3 that I was interested in, like, could you please set those aside? And that was done for me. It was like, okay, awesome. But when I went to go pick them up, whatever wasn't called dibs on during when the photos first went up, had hit the shelf. And it's like, well, once they're on the shelf, they're fair game. So I ended up walking out with quite a few Star Trek figures. I do have a Data and a Worf that I got a while ago that are actually also unpunched. So I'm going to probably punch out the tabs on those so that I can just put them up using thumbtacks on the wall. And I do have a Commander Riker that I plan on getting signed by Jonathan Frakes at this year's HowlCon. I've got my warp speed pass and everything for that. I don't plan on being at the con a whole lot, but it would give me a good chance to kind of explore some of the game stores and stuff in Halifax as well. But anyway, so if you're wondering why I don't have a Data or a Worf or a Commander Riker, it's because I already have those figures from past purchases. I just may not have shown them on camera. So we're just going to go through sort of in no particular order, maybe a slight particular order here. Yeah, so the first one here that I wanted to show is a Geordie figure. So I actually had a couple of Geordies when I was a kid, and the 2 that I had, one was him in his red uniform from season 1 before he was the chief engineer. So I had that one, and I had the version of Geordie in the dress uniform. And then I also had Worf in his gold uniform, security uniform, and I had him in his Klingon battle uniform, which I could have picked up as well again because that one was there, but you'll see the ones that I got, and I was like, I had to cut myself off at some point. So we got Geordie here, so that's really cool to see. And along with that, I also asked to have a Captain Picard set aside for me because I never owned a Captain Picard figure when I was a kid. And yes, I'm going to leave the stickers on there. It's for those things to me always tell the story of where I got it from, how much I paid for them. But even with my Turtle Wall, the ones that I got from Giant Robot, they all have their stickers on. But yeah, it's okay, I never owned a Captain Picard. So they had a few different styles there, and I just asked if he could set one aside for me, and he did. So we got the Season 1 Picard, Season 1 or Season 2 Picard, with the stripe on the black part of the shoulders there. But this is where you can also see Klingon Warrior Worf, Lieutenant Junior Grade Geordie LaForge, and Lieutenant Commander Geordie in his dress uniform. So those 3 figures there were ones that I had as a kid. So it was really kind of cool to see them on the card. And then the other one that I asked to be set aside for me was this Borg figure, because I did have this Borg when I was a kid as well. And I loved the Borg in The Next Generation and in First Contact. Kind of not a big fan of the way the Borg were treated in Voyager, but I loved the Borg in The Next Generation. They were such an amazing sort of villain. And again, this is from the same one that had those other figures that I had back in the day, but still with the shoulder stripes. So Season 1, Season 2. Is there a year on this one? There's got to be, right? I'm not going to... Yeah, 1993. So 1993, this might be a 1994? 1992. Interesting. So the ones with the Season 1, Season 2 uniforms are actually older or newer than the than the ones from like the later season uniform style. But anyway, so I got a Borg, a Captain Picard, and a Geordi. But like I said, there was still quite a few awesome figures there. And I got 4 more. And like I said, I just had to cut myself off at one point. There were so many more that I was looking at. And it's like, okay, I got to stop at some point here. So, speaking of Captain Picard, I also decided to pick up the one with him in his coat uniform. Because I loved the coat. Like the coat with the gray shirt underneath. And like the leather shoulders on the red jacket there. So I definitely wanted to get that one. It was still available. I was surprised by that one. Like, I figured that one would have gone. But that is, yeah, Captain Picard in his more casual captain's uniform. And this one also blew my mind that it was still available. I mean, I think there were so many things there that it was hard to look at everything. And you just kind of, I think everybody, like, knew the ones that they had as a kid that they wanted to recapture. And they kind of focused on those because this Locutus was still available. And I figured, like, Locutus would have been gone, right? And I didn't even know there was Locutus there because, like I said, I was just focused on, okay, I want I want a Geordi, I want a Captain Picard, I want the Borg. But I completely missed the fact that there was a Locutus. And it was still there. And I'm like, we're talking, like, 2 or 3 weeks had passed since this trade was made. And crazy that it was still there. And then the other 2 figures, and I'm not going to really get deep into this line. There's only 2 more that I'm really interested in, if I can find them, and if I can't, it's not the end of the world. But they had some Deep Space Nine figures there. And, I could have gotten Gul Dukat, which part of me regrets not getting, but like I said, I had to cut myself off somewhere. So I ended up going with an Odo. Because Odo is one of my favorite characters from Deep Space Nine. Right? And I do want to get, like, the other 2, well, I'll show you the other one first to explain why. But yeah, so I ended up also getting the Commander Benjamin Sisko. So this is like Season 1 Sisko before he got his goatee back and before he was able to shave his head again. I've got Sisko. I've got Odo. The other 2 figures that I really want to get are O'Brien and Bashir. But again, I'm not going to go out of my way to find them. If another trade like this ever happens, then maybe I'll jump on it. But if these are the only 2 Deep Space Nine figures that I ever get, then I'm totally happy with that as well. So like I said, these are all going to go up on my wall. It's one of these instances where I kind of wish, like, the game room that I have has this, like, built-in entertainment center for, like, the older or smaller kind of TVs. And part of me kind of wishes that there was just more wall so that I could have more room to put stuff up on. But anyway, so these are all going to go up on my wall, and they're going to go up on the wall near where the light switch is. When I first come in, I've got like a War Duke and some Dritz minis there that I'm going to have to move somewhere else. But yeah, really happy to have those. Like, it was just amazing to see somebody bring in 83, or at least 80 plus. 83 might not be the exact number, but 80 plus Star Trek figures from the 1990s, all on card, is just nuts. So yeah, really happy to have those. All right, let's go back to another Noble Knight purchase, and this is something I actually got a little while ago, but I haven't shown it on. I don't think I've shown it on camera yet. Whoops, and I'll have to pick that up in a moment. Oh, it's hard to reach over the or around the camera here, but this was something that I thought was really, really interesting because I saw this listed on their site. And I don't even know how I saw this listed. Like, I didn't search for it because I didn't know it existed. But this is an accessory kit. And it's put out by, if I can find it here. I thought I saw the name of the company somewhere on the packaging. Yeah, Fanroll. I think they're the ones that did my D&D Expert dice tray. So they've been around, I think, for a little while now. But this is really cool because it's just, like I said, I never knew this existed. I haven't been able to find very much information on it. I haven't been able to find a single video on YouTube about it with, like, trying to do all kinds of different searches. So this will be something I'll do an unboxing for here in the very near future. But yeah, this is the Pathfinder accessory kit. This is like Pathfinder 1E, although for the most part it doesn't really matter. Because what you get is a dice bag that's got Harsk the Ranger on there, which is pretty cool. You've got a velvet dice tray to roll into, which I think that's like the world of Galarian there. And then you've got a dice set. What's really cool about the dice set, I don't know how it's going to show up on camera, but there are little goblin heads inside each of those dice. So you got like little goblin heads and all the dice there. And it says it includes a hardcover book. I have opened this. A buddy of mine was over, and we did open just kind of see. And it is it's like a hardcover trade of the Pathfinder comic. And unfortunately, it's like volume 5 or something like that. But still cool to have. And again, this is where their declarations of actually here it is, like what is the, because this was considered like new or mint, right? But it's taped and it's ripped. Like this is ripped and taped over, and they sold it as mint. So again, I don't know about some of their classifications. I think they're a little generous with their things, but anyway, it's still really cool to have. The price wasn't that bad anyway. I think it was like $40. So $40 just to, for something like this, which is like such a, I don't want to say rare because I don't think it is. Like, I think this is something that was likely mass produced, but it's just uncommon to find, right? Like, I've never seen this in the wild. I never heard of it. And yeah, again, I was unable to find any videos of it on YouTube by searching like Pathfinder accessory. Like, anytime I did Pathfinder accessory kit, it wouldn't show me like, the modern card sets and stuff like that. And it was hard to, to try to, like I did other terms like Pathfinder accessory box, Pathfinder, dice bag, dice tray, and dice set collection. And it didn't, nothing came up. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. And a welcome addition to the collection. I don't think I'll do an unboxing video, but basically, everything's going to probably go back in the box. I'll read the comics, so I'll probably keep that out. But that's going to be more like a display piece, I think, than anything else. All right. What next? All right, I'm going to go pick up the thing that fell, so just give me a second here. All right, so I got the thing picked up. I'm going to show it off here in a moment because the next thing that I kind of want to show is probably the single largest item. And since I was already up and it was like I'd have to try to reach around the camera and try to pick up this box, which is it's not heavy, but it's awkward because of the way things are distributed in there. But anyway, we were at, I hate the fact I can't remember the name of it. It was a hobby store in Dartmouth Crossing, and I wish I could remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's like Great Hobby or something like that. But, they have like model kits and stuff in there. So like they have like Titanic kits, which is really cool. They had some Star Trek kits. But they also had some Warhammer stuff. And last year, and I don't think I ever showed it on camera, but last year I picked up the introductory box and the regular starter set for Warhammer 10th edition. And I, had those, and I was going to open them up and paint them and do all that stuff. But then it's like, oh, the 11th edition is probably coming out next year. So I was like, well, maybe I'll kind of wait for that. And I'm kind of glad that I did, because most of the Warhammer videos that I've been watching were videos of like people talking about like the Warhammer 2nd edition stuff. And kind of like being nostalgic for that. And the new edition kind of is an homage. But we were there, and my wife decided to get this for me as my delayed birthday present, because when I had my birthday back in May, she had to leave. She was already in Europe for like a week-long work trip. But what she ended up getting me was the Warhammer Armageddon box. And it's still got the sticker seals on it. I haven't actually opened the box up yet. But it's really cool because it's got like the 2nd edition style, like the Blood Angels and the Orcs. And kind of like, I wanted the armies that I was mostly interested in, again, were like the Blood Angels and the Orcs from like the 2nd edition ones, because I've seen so many videos of people like painting them and doing like battle reports. of some of like the second edition story scenarios and stuff. So I thought that was really, really cool. And this is a massive box. Like this is a thick box here, and it comes with so much stuff. But there are some things that it doesn't have, right? So it doesn't have, it doesn't have maps. It doesn't have any like terrain stuff. So, and it's got a lot of minis in there that I think might be a little intimidating to start with. So I also ordered some paint sets, from them. I guess they're rebranded as Warhammer paints now. So I have some of those ordered. They should hopefully ship out soon because the launch date, like the full launch date for the stuff, was yesterday at the time that I'm recording this. But my plan is to kind of like paint these like the second edition style. So I'm going to try to aim for like brighter colors and like the yellow insignias on the chests and stuff like that. But I ordered some of the paint sets, including one that comes with like 2 Orc minis and a Gretchen mini. And I also ordered like the paint set that comes with like just a large number of paints and tools and stuff like that without any minis in it. And then I also ordered the introductory box. And the introductory box has some of these figures in there, but it also has maps and terrain pieces and dice and measuring devices and things like that. So really, really cool. But man, the amount of stuff in here is just crazy. And like Warhammer's not cheap. Like this box was not cheap. But if you were to try to buy these things on their own outside of this box set, it would be way more than what you ended up paying for getting like the actual box. So yeah, anyway, really, really cool. I'm looking forward to just having some like kitchen table games. I'm not getting into like this stuff competitively. Like I picked up Battletech stuff like a couple years ago. Haven't actually been able to do anything with that yet, so I want to start getting into painting that too. I picked up some spray primers and blue tack and stuff like that to help me with priming and painting and all that. So I want to really get into that this year. And but I wanted to play like the Alpha Strike version of Battletech because I don't particularly care for the regular version of Battletech. I think it's just a little too involved. Anyway, did not mean to hit the camera, but that is Warhammer 40K. And like those starter set products, it's going to be as far as I go with it. Like I said, I just want to be able to have some kitchen table games. I do have the units from the other box set, like the Termagants and things like that. So I'll be able to do those up as well and just get the rules for them when they come out. So I could have a third little army again. Just play like some low point total, just casual fun games. I'm not a competitive player at all. I went to a Magic event in the city once when I was living there, and I just go to have fun. And the previous Magic events that I had gone to were in the South Shore with a friend of mine, so it wasn't too bad. Or people were a little bit more laid back, and this person was just hardcore, like into it. It's like I play this trigger, right? Then I play this, and then this triggers, and then anyway, it was just too much. So like I like just nice casual games. I'm not a competitive person at all, so a few kitchen table games, that's going to be great. All right, so the thing that fell that I picked up is the Starfinder 2nd Edition Critical Hit deck. So this was something that I was probably going to start like passing on with the Pathfinder Starfinder subscriptions. I was looking to scale back on some of those, but like with the recent stuff that was going on with Paizo and Diamond and JP Morgan Chase trying to hold their inventory, like millions of dollars of inventory from them in litigation, I decided like to do my part, I'll hold on to the subscriptions that I had, though there are some things that I might still be a little bit picky over. But yeah, so I ended up getting this critical hit deck. There's a critical fumble deck coming out. That might be the last sort of like sets like this that I bother with. I love these things, but I just can't convince my group to play them. Well, I can convince my group to play them, but there's one person who is steadfast against them, and I don't, want to ruin his fun at the table either. So, but yeah, I do love these things. All right, and then we got some Paizo stuff, and then we've got something that I ordered from DM's Guild or Drive-Thru RPG. But let's start with the Pathfinder stuff here, Pathfinder Starfinder. So this is part of this month's subscription releases. The first one here is the Bastion of Blasphemy's adventure. I guess it's adventure. It's an adventure path, but it's all in one book, right? It's not like for a while now they've only been releasing hardcovers where instead of like individual softcover issues where there's multiple parts to each one. I'm assuming that probably they get a higher profit margin from like single release hardcovers than multiple release softcovers. And it's easier to like if you're only getting like one hardcover adventure every few months, like it's easier to justify that than like with the softcover ones because like I've got a ton and it's like I'm not going to run all of these. But anyway, this one seems kind of interesting. I haven't been able to read too deep into it yet, but basically, the player characters like find them like they wake up on this mysterious shore, this island that's dominated by this massive manor. And yeah, it's I wish I could say more about it right now. I just started sort of skimming it. I just got it yesterday. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just got it yesterday. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. This might be something that I try to run in the future there for levels 5 through 13. And then we've got Impossible Magic. So Impossible Magic is a sort of a re-release sort of the Secrets of Magic book that came out a few years back. It does have the Summoner and it does have the Magus classes in here, as well as the Necromancer and the Runesmith, I think it's called. Where's the classes there? Yeah, Runesmith, Necromancer, Magus, and the Summoner. And one of the cool changes that they made, especially to the Magus and the Summoner, is before, in the first version that they released in, they only could have 2 levels of spells at any given time. Or 2 ranks of spells using the new terminology for the remastered version. So you would, if at first you'd have like a rank 1 spell, and you only got like 2 spell slots for each level. But you had like 2 rank 1 spell slots, and then when you got to a certain level, like level 3, you would gain some rank 2 spell slots. But when you reached the point where you gained rank 3 slots, you lost your rank 1 slot. So you only ever had 2 levels or 2 ranks of spells available at any given time. And you only had a couple spell slots of those ones available to you. And they changed that. So they got rid of that concept. I don't think it was a very popular one. I always thought it was kind of interesting that they had that. Like I was interested in like the reason kind of why they decided to go with that route. But as it stands, you do only have like up to 2 spell slots for each of your ranks, and they only go to rank 9. They don't get like rank 10 stuff like the wizard or sorcerer or cleric or druid gets. But it's cool that they still retain all their older spells, right? So they have a bit more options when it comes to that. So I thought that was kind of neat. And the Summoner is basically the exact same way. And I haven't had a huge chance to look through things yet, so I don't want to talk too much about like the Necromancer or the Runesmith yet. And the Runesmith doesn't have like conventional spell casting. But yeah, with the Summoner, they summon their Eidolon, but they also only had, like, their Eidolon would give them spells, but they also only had, like, the 2 ranks at any given time, and they let them retain all their previous spells, which is really cool to see. So yeah, it's kind of a re-release of that Secrets of Magic book with a couple of other classes thrown in, and some more, like, stuff added in from the Impossible Magic playtest they did a while back. So that's really cool to see. And yeah, so we got that one. It's kind of nice to see them do this as opposed to just completely re-release the original book, but just with the updated terminology. I have the updated books for the things that they have done that with, but I kind of prefer doing this, where you create a new book that just features some of that material, versus like just a complete re-release of the same book that you already have, but you feel compelled to get it because like just the difference in terminology isn't killer, but it's enough that like, okay, well maybe I should just, get the new one. So I do prefer them doing it as like a completely new book with extra stuff added in. And then for Starfinder, we've got our first setting book. It's something that I'm surprised took this long to release, but it's the Absalon Station campaign setting. So Absalon Station, the center of the galaxy. And yeah, this is pretty cool. Uh, Although I kind of feel bad because I had the location of Drifter's End be just a dive bar, but apparently it's like a whole section of the space station. So that was definitely an inaccuracy on on my part. But this is cool. Like I do tend to when I run Starfinder, the Absalom station does tend to be their base of operations. So it's great to finally have like a dedicated campaign setting book to it. And I'm looking forward to spending some more time flipping through that in the near future. And then the last two Paizo related things were part of that free RPG Day thing where I bought the Chainmail minis to be able to have enough money where I could get the three things that I wanted. And I do like to get the free RPG Day stuff every year for Paizo, for Pathfinder and Starfinder. Since I started collecting Starfinder and Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which Pathfinder was from the beginning, I haven't missed a year yet. So, what we have here is Pathfinder Things Go to Hell. And I haven't really looked at this yet, but this guy is 100% Pius Augustus from Eternal Darkness on the GameCube. Just the design looks so similar. The only thing is that like he's skeletal and doesn't have any flesh on him. But like the armor, he's also kind of missing the plume there on the thing on the helmet. But I just like I saw that and it's like, okay, well that's Eternal Darkness right there. And then for Starfinder, we've got Rescue on Rexel. The free RPG stuff, I do like to get those. And so I normally order them from Paizo. Like they charge $5 each for the physical versions, which I usually don't mind paying. But with the new website, it's hard to find their RPG Day items. So I had an email from Noble Knights like, hey, we got the free RPG Day stuff. For every $20 that you spend, you get to pick one free item. And that ended up working perfectly for the things that I wanted anyway. Okay, and then finally, and this goes to a comment that I received on a recent video. And to answer the question is, I want to do it sometime soon. I know I said that before, but at this point, like I'm no longer accepting, like I'm no longer getting things from the different companies. Like Wizards completely stopped that. I think they pretty much stopped that program. With Paizo, they moved over to the new store. So what they had before were complimentary subscriptions, and those didn't port over when they opened up the new store. They said they were going to kind of work on them. I don't know if I want to bother going through that again. I think I would rather just buy the things that I want. And like Free League, they went to a PR firm over like before they just had a single PR person or like the head of PR that I actually had a pretty decent relationship with. Like I was able to like we email and just kind of like be able to talk casually. We got along really well, but then they decided like they started getting big, right? And I get it. So they moved to having a PR firm that they hired. But once you start doing that, like I hate it when you go from being able to talk to the same person every time to sending an email to an address that like multiple people will access, and so like you're always getting a different name on the from stuff. So anyway, like even with Free League, I just decided, you know what, like they're my favorite RPG company right now anyway, so I'm just gonna buy their stuff. And anyway, but before I was getting a lot of stuff sent to me, and it was really overwhelming, truth be told. So there were things that I had planned that I just completely abandoned because I kept getting new stuff in, and I kept feeling like I need to try to focus on some of this and some of that and do all these things, and it just became an absolute nightmare. So the comment was, years ago, I did a video on the In Search of Adventure book for D&D Basic, which was a compilation of modules B1 through B9. Although it sort of was like the greatest hits of each of those things. It wasn't like the full modules or anything. But they took them and they had them sort of branch into like a story. So you could start with one scenario, and then when you reach a certain point, you got to make a decision, and that decision led you to like, which one do you go to next? And it was kind of like this really cool flowchart. And I liked the idea of turning these into like a cohesive story. So like I was really kind of amped on that book. And I still am. I still think it's a really cool concept. But I thought, it might be kind of neat because I have watched some videos on some of the other like BECME or basic expert modules. And so I have B1 and B2 already. So I have B1 through print on demand, and I have B2 from my Moldvay Cook basic box set. And I just said, you know what, the heck with it. These were all on sale. So I decided, like, Christmas in July or whatever they wanted to call it. So I ended up getting a bunch of basic modules for the, like, BECME or whatever, Rule Cyclopedia, whatever you want to call it, basic expert. So these are modules B3 through B9, and I do plan on getting 10, 11, and 12, although those were UK modules because basic D&D was really popular over in the UK. But I wanted to have these because I might try to do like a little comparison between the In Search of Adventure book, the compilation book, and each of the original modules. So, like I said, I had Into the Unknown, or In Search of the Unknown, I forget what the exact title of it, but B1. And I had Keep on the Borderlands, obviously. So I decided to pick up the rest. So, and I wanted them sort of in their own form. Like, I have the B4 Goodman Games book, but that's a huge book for like a small module. So we have B3, Palace of the Silver Princess. So we have that one. We have B4, The Lost City. And this is B5, although I don't know why they didn't. This might be a later printing where they didn't have the lettering on it anymore. But this is B5, Horror on the Hill, which I've heard is actually a really good module. And I saw one channel where they actually said they liked this one better than Keep on the Borderlands. So, you know, I can't make that determination right now, but I still think it's really cool to finally have that in my collection. B6, The Veiled Society. B7, Rahasia. This is B8, even though it's not labeled as such. Journey to the Rock. And then we've got B9, which is Castle Caldwell and Beyond. So this is like a series of short adventures that's supposed to take like just a couple hours each. I don't think anything outside of like the castle is included in the B9, B1 through B9 book. But anyway, I just, like I said, I just wanted to have those modules in their entirety to be able to look at. And it is something that I do want to do in the future. It's, you know, like summertime can be a rough time for videos because even though I'm down in the basement, our dehumidifiers are running all the time. I actually have to empty the one that's in here right now, which is why you're not hearing it. But the dehumidifiers are running all the time, and it gets warm down in this basement, you know, with those going. So it's just harder to make videos. You know, I sleep schedule's been a little wonky for a little while now. Trying to get that back under control, but I do want to get back into working on videos more regularly. And I just, you know, with me just buying whatever I want now, as opposed to getting stuff sent to me, it frees me up to make the videos that I want to make and not have to kind of put them on the back burner. Because like, oh, well, this month's Paizo box has come in. So I at least need to show off everything that came in this box, like in this order, so that people are aware of it if I can't do like individual reviews of everything. And I just kind of want to get back into like the more pure form of the channel that I kind of started with. So anyway, but yeah, it's really cool to have these in the collection now. These were big items to get for me. And yeah, so let me know in the comments below, what are some of the things that you've added to your collection lately. And again, these are just all things that kind of happened at different times, but they all decided to show up at the same time kind of thing. I mean, like some things, again, like with the Voss, with the Free League stuff, it looks like a lot of stuff, and it is, but it was dirt cheap. So, like, again, like I'm pretty sure the Voss and One Ring stuff was like 80% off, and the Alien stuff was at least 50% off, if not 60% off. It was a lot cheaper than buying, obviously, the stuff brand new. So, anyway, like, yeah, it's just definitely some stuff added to this, to my collections here, but again, just the sort of the way that things kind of lined up with subscriptions and sales and whatnot. And like pretty much everything. The only thing that I bought that was full price in this video were the Star Trek figures. And obviously the Pathfinder stuff. Well, no, actually the Pathfinder stuff, even then I save a little bit of money on because of the amount of subscriptions that I have. So, yeah, I guess it was just the Noble Knight stuff that I paid full price for. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys added to your collections in the comments below. It doesn't have to be role-playing games. It could be video games, comics, you know, music, whatever it is that you guys collect. and you found something that like you're excited about, let me know that, because like you guys have had some really awesome stuff that you've mentioned in the past for various types of collecting, and it's always kind of cool to see like what people are into, like what kind of things people collect out there. So thank you once again for your time. I truly appreciate it. We will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.